Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Malifaux and my first game with Molly. Super excited to start learning her, and I've been really looking forward to putting her out on the table. Obviously, as this is my first outing with my new master, I will be going up against one of the toughest players I can. And Insidiously Mad will be trying out a Void Vix list. Just to make things even more interesting, we're going to be trying out some of these new Gaining Grounds 18 beta schemes and strategies, and I'll give you my thoughts at the end. Bear with us, it's our first time trying these. For terrain, man, we've got a lot of it. All the tree things are forests, all the buildings are impassable, hardcover, height 1,000,000, blocking. All the struts and arches are hardcover, blocking, impassable, but all bases can go through the little archway things. All the walls and benches you see are height 1, climbable, hardcover, and the rocks are impassable, hardcover, height 2 and 3, blocking, all that good stuff. These bridges are pretty much just fences. I think we said they were height 2 in the middle, and this set of stairs you can walk up them normally, but this bit's height 1 climbable. So the strategy is Symbols of Authority, and basically when you deploy, each player places 3 50mm markers within their half of the table, not in their deployment zone and not within 10 inches of another marker. During the game, non-peons can interact with these to remove enemy markers and get a victory point, and you can only score 1 victory point per turn, every turn after the first for this. At the end of the game, if you've still got at least one of your markers, you get a point. So I lost the deployment flip, and my opponent made me go first, as we're both really not sure what the right strategy for this is. So what I've done is I've put one of my markers right back here, one of them in this kind of cul-de-sac, with the idea of getting a model up in front of it and guarding it all game, and then I put one up right at the centre, just because I thought putting them all at the back would be boring, really, and I don't know, I can influence his placement of his markers a little bit, but maybe it'll be more easy for me to protect when I get the rest of my bulk of my crew up. I doubt it'll be around at the end of the game, though. And then because I'm taking Vix, I deploy like this. So we've got Gracie over the far left, Molly with Forgotten Life and Take Back the Night. I don't have her new upgrade, so I'm not going to bother using them, and I didn't really think they'd be that useful, as I'm not expecting my opponent to drop that many markers, and it doesn't tend to be too hard to guess which schemes the Vix are going to do. Holding the centre, we've got the Rouge Necromancy, Bert Jebsen, and then off to the right we've got the Green Rogue Necromancy and the Rotten Bell. Over on the Outcast side, we've got a Void Wretch and the Nothing Beast, who's rocking the Void Shield. This is, this McTavish is one of his authority markers, as is this Gracie, and there's another marker off over the other side. Yeah, he just deployed all his markers right on the back line. We have another Void Wretch, the Scion of the Void, a Malifaux Child, and a Trapper that is from the Shadow Eater just a little bit forwards. And then over on my right we have the Vic of Ashes. Oh no, wait, that's Blood. With Mark of Shizzle and Soaring Dragon, a new upgrade. Vic of Ashes, with Sisters in Fury, Synchronized Slaying, and Sisters in Spirit, and a third Void Wretch. His final marker is hiding behind these trees. So my plan, well, I'm going to be honest, I picked my crew before I saw the schemes and strategies, and to be fair, I think my opponent did the same, because I thought this was freaking awesome. So as I'm facing Vix, I've deployed Spread Out, trying to keep more than 5 inches between as many models as I can. With the Soaring Dragon upgrade instead of Oathkeeper, the slingshot range of the Vix is slightly diminished, but I don't know quite by how much. But I presume it's still something like 20 inches or more. One of their schemes isn't going to be a mystery, it's going to be Make Them Suffer. And so I've got my 1 minion Bell way out here on the flank, and he's more than welcome to send a Vic or two out to go get her. I had intended the Bell to be helping Molly get up the board quicker, but this is how we're doing it. So she might as well be helping my Rogue Necro go up this flank, and then try to threaten going for this marker. And I'm thinking that the Necro might be able to split off and head towards the centre and back up my guys once things get into motion. On the other flank, Gracie is going to be doing more of a holding role. There's a marker behind or in front of this tree, and I figure it's probably the most easy to defend, given where the Vix have started. Gracie's pretty defenceless against Vic of Blood, so I'm happy to kind of keep her out of the way, and if I get the opportunity I can reactivate myself up and try to go for this marker up here. Molly, Rogue and Bert are going to try to hold the centre, Blood will get one of them, but hopefully the other can take her down. I'm also looking at Bert's crackerjack timing to try to push models together so that Molly can summon, say, a punk zombie into the midst of them and tie up their forces, and then maybe summon Drowned around them to die and drop scheme markers to get me the inescapable trap points. And hopefully I'll be able to get some minion or other, maybe a Kruligan, to ping off into the backfield and start snagging his markers. That's my plan. Let's see how it goes. Turn 1, hello 13 of Crows. I get the initiative and I make Insidiously Mad go first. He activates the child and does the Sisters in Fury or whatever, gives them lots and lots of damage, which he quickly realised was a mistake when I moved Bert up into some hard cover and made him go defensive. I deployed him badly so that the Trapper was able to get a line of sight without him being in cover, and I needed to rectify that pretty quick. A Void Wretch has shuffled up to be within 6 inches of my marker. Gracie's moved up the flank, hasn't reactivated. I think the Scion's wandered up onto these stairs. My Rogue Necromancy's gone up the middle, double walking, trying to bait in Blood, and also acting as a turret for Molly, as with the double walk he is now in range of this Void Wretch. The Trapper shoots him for fun and does 3 wounds, I think. Molly goes, uses her 0 to make the Rogue Necromancy take a shot, and oh, I miss. He's ditched a lot of cards, so even with a 13 I can't hit the thing. Damn it. So then Molly spends all her AP wading through the forest and over the wall to get up to this position over here. Again, trying to be as far away from the Vix as I can, help Gracie out with the coming Nothing Beasts, and also be in range to get some minions summoned into this central area next turn. Really feeling the lack of extra movement support for her. Would have been lovely to be able to hit this area with summoning turn 1. So I think for the Outcasts we've got another Void Wretch hiding in this house. A Void Wretch just kind of wandered around over here. My Bell has moved up and lured my Necromancy, who's then wandered towards the centre. And I'm trying to set up a Triangle of Doom here for the Vicar Blood. It's not quite perfect, but hopefully it's scary enough to give her second thoughts. Terrain is proving really tricky to manoeuvre around. Nothing Beast creeps up, staying out of Molly's line of sight and getting just within range to charge Gracie, which unfortunately is out of Gracie's immediate threat range. And then the Vix go. Ashes spends all of her movement walking up around here. Sisters and Spirits, Blood, who then walks forward and melee experts the Rogue Necromancy. I take 5 damage, but keep my 3-headed. Really happy she couldn't get the movement and position to charge, and we're going to go into quite a tense turn 2. I get quite a middle of the road hand, and I Soulstone, and my hand stays fairly middle of the road. But I do get the initiative, and I think my opponent stones it and still can't beat me. So Green Necro goes, and I halve Blood's wounds and give her poison, but Soulstones keep her standing. I was really hoping to kill her. Yeah, it's not looking good for my Necromancy, which she easily puts out of its misery and then buries herself. Molly goes, summons a punk zombie, engaging both these guys. Very nice. Dinking both the Outcasts for a little bit of damage, and then I summon a Kruligan. Dinking models for more damage, and the idea here is that I'm probably going to lose one of them, but there's a chance the other might survive and I'll be able to so either the zombie will survive and he'll engage these guys, or I can move my Kruligan to try to engage these guys. I then use my 0 action to move the Rogue Necro up to the fence. It's annoying I couldn't put him over it, and hopefully I can engage. His engagement range will spread enough just to protect this thing if anything's going to make a run for it. I would have considered just shooting the Void Wretch, as its defense is really low at this stage in the turn, and trying to blast onto the Trapper, getting rid of it, but I need models around to be able to try to score my points. So I think that's why I went so early with Molly, as I also want to try to hold the models in this nice position that they're starting in. So that's how things look. I think the Scion of the Void goes, kills my Kruligan with the take damage equal to the number of damage you've taken attack. Really good for attacking summons. And he brings my punk zombie down to his last wound. I do like hard to kill. Nothing Beast comes in on Gracie. Doesn't do very much damage. Gracie reactivates herself and then starts munching on the nasty Gribbly, healing herself back up. And I'm hopeful I can slowly chew through his wounds and keep healing mine up and eventually win this flank. Another Void Beast comes up the side. Good, keep 2 of your models together, please. But I am worried it's going to slip through my lines and go for my most easily protected marker. Punk Zombie slice and dices for fun. The Trapper ummed and erred about shooting the Necro for most of the turn and finally took the shot and I think failed his terror test. Either way, my beast is still 3-headed. I activate Bert, go Reckless, and I think I make a bit of a mistake here. I double walk him up and shoot the Trapper, doing like 1 damage or something pathetic. What I was also considering was using a final walk to go, right up onto the bridge, to be away from the Vix and be kind of threatening in his backfield. But I chose to go for blood in the end, and I think that was a bad move. At the end of the turn, Insidiously Mad has scored 1 point for Make Them Suffer, and I've scored 1 point for Hold Up Their Forces. Turn 3, and I stone again, but my hand remains mediocre. Starting to realise why Philip and the Nanny is so important with Molly. I do, however, get the initiative, and since last turn, Ashes walked up over here and popped out blood, and also the Void Wretch has come over. That was hiding in the house. I need to move Bert before I lose him. So I Reckless him again. I could go and charge the Void Wretch or the Trapper and try to thin his models down, but I need to keep a mass of non-threatening models together for me to score points. I could have moved over here to attack the Void Wretch, try to blast onto the Vix, but I won't kill them. My cards are pretty bad, so that even the chances of that working aren't great. In the end, I decide to try to play it sneaky. I double walk up over here and drop a scheme marker, measuring out for Leave Their Mark, and basically my hope is that Bert's tough enough and priority enough to draw in 1 or 2 of the Vix. Hopefully the Trapper will try to come and block it and basically stand within 3 inches of it so I can score my point. I felt running in, dropping it in the centre would be too obvious, so that's what I've done. So many things I could have tried to do here. I could have run Bert further back, try to keep him alive. Pretty sure the Vix can still get him. Tricky decision, and not really one I want to be using AP for dropping markers, but yeah, so that's what I did. Scion sadly kills my Punk Zombie and goes to stand over here engaging Molly outside of her Black Blood range. I was going to use the Rogue Necromancy to jump the wall and drop a scheme marker, with the idea that if the Vix came in, then I would, potentially score a point from there, and then next turn be able to beat on the Scion, but I forget that, possibly thinking to protect my marker, charge the Void Wretch, kill it, and engage the Trapper and stalk it, so that if it tries to run away, I can try to follow it around and, get further backfield. Priorities starting to shift to a point where I think my opponent would want to try to take down Gracie, so I go with Molly. I try to I summon a Kruligan next to the Void Beast, who I can just see through this tiny gap around the building to lower his willpower. Then I whisper the secret, but with no high cards I fail. Probably should have summoned more Kruligans around him. But then I summon a Bell off the Scion, dink him for a little bit more damage, and hopefully have her be able to run off or pull my other guys around should I need her to. I think I then prompt the Rogue Necro, who doesn't do anything, because I Black Joker. Belle runs off to try to get to McTavish marker, and the child follows, hot on her heels. Oh, and this was terrible. So the Void Wretch has slipped past us, getting into position to try to take out my marker next turn. And I think I go with Gracie and find that even if I run to the extent of this guy's engagement range, I can't engage both of them because Gracie's only got a 1-inch melee. Really sad, and yeah, there's no way I'm going to be able to disengage from him, even if it was worth doing. So I reactivate her and then start chomping, healing a little bit of damage, missing one of the attacks. My Kruligan's gone, I think tried to disengage and failed, and used its increase the damage of pulses and blasts. I don't think the Nothing Beast has that many wounds left, and it might have been an idea just to attack the Kruligan and try to pulse 2 damage onto the thing, but he's got a Soul Stone, and it would kill my Kruligan and damage Gracie, so yeah, I don't think that was a good idea. So what Gracie does is she hits the Void Wretch, and then the Void Wretch activates, hits Gracie, does not much damage, but then he puts up his counter-attack ability, so that when Gracie reactivates, she tries to munch him again, and he slams her for the Red Joker, so now she's on 1 wound, and not really feeling confident to try to hit this thing at defense 8 or something. There's no point in going defensive, so I just walk around over here. You never know, maybe I'll get lucky next turn, able to kill it, and then she can get over and help the Void Wretch back to its home. But yeah, ouch, I'm not liking the way things are looking on this flank. The Vix go for Bert. I think all Ashes has done this game so far is move and walk blood around. She kills him no problem, but this frickin' Trapper So he got his push out of combat with the Rogue Necro, got within 4 inches of the marker, not within 3 inches, and then shot and killed the Rogue Necro. I was so sad. So because he didn't go within 3, I can't score for this point. It so nearly worked, but it didn't, and now I'm in serious trouble. We go into turn 4, and at the end of turn 3 I should mention that the Void Wretch by the Vix had removed my marker, scoring a point, and they'd obviously got a point for Make Them Suffer. I didn't get anything. And at this point my phone dies, and so we switch over to Insidiously Mad's phone. This is the only picture I've got of turn 4, and basically the Nothing Beast went, slew Gracie with another red joker, and then killed my Kruligan, which did do a couple of damage to it through the Black Blood, and it's now just standing on 2 or 3 damage. And I'm pretty sure this is not the Entourage target, because he hasn't ever soulstoned its damage. Well, this picture is about halfway through turn 5, but I'll catch you up on what's happened. So after I lost Gracie to the Nothing Beast, Molly went, summoned a punk zombie off of it, used her zero action to push or to walk the punk zombie around to engage both of them, and then I decided I needed revenge for my pig, slew the Nothing Beast with Revelation, doing quite a bit of card draw, but unfortunately, losing myself a point. The Trapper walked over, just rubbing my face how little points I was getting from for that scheme. Vix came in on Molly, pumping cards out of my hand, and so she's on like half damage now. I've got 1 Soulstone left, I believe. This Void Wretch, after taking away my markers, just running across the board towards this last remaining marker. Vic of Ashes took out my central marker this turn, on turn 4. Sion was just lurking around Molly. I forget what he did, but I haven't been attacking it because I figure he'll just bury it as soon as I try to hurt him directly. And then he'll probably unbury near the Nothing Beast or the Void Wretch or something. Somewhere inconvenient. My Bell failed to escape the child on the first attempt, taking my 13. That was so sad. So I escape on the second attempt and make a really bad move by running into this corner, basically trapping myself as the child is obviously just going to follow me. If I'd run over this way, I would have had options at least to try to break out of its engagement next turn. As it is, I'm stuffed. So now here we are on turn 5, and my Belle is running up, trying to get to the marker. She's never going to make it. I made a mistake on turn 3, I think it was, when the Vix were up here. I ran her back behind the building. I was worried he was going to kill all my minions, but that was a mistake. I really should have just kept pressing her up forward, forced the Vix to go and deal with her, because now she can't make it to my opponent's marker. Molly's gone. She has summoned a Drowned using a last Soulstone in between the 2 Vix, and the idea here is that hopefully it will take so much AP to kill it that they can't, and it will hold them up. They'll more likely kill it, but hopefully it will take too much AP for them to walk away from the marker that it will drop. It's a big hope, but it goes defensive to help me out. Molly also manages to top deck the summon of the little necrotic machine over here, dinking the Scion for some more damage, and just helping me bolster my defences up around this marker. It did take me 2 AP to get it out though. Vicar Blood goes, kills Molly, no, and kills the Drowned. Well, that was going to happen. But I get to drop my scheme marker. Why didn't I drop it here? My punk zombie kills the Void Wretch and goes to walk up to stand by the marker, just try to put as much engagement range around it as I can. Vic of Ashes walks around over here and shoots and kills my necrotic machine to get it out of the way. Bell fails its attempt to severe damage the child to kill it in 1, and so I can't get this marker. And so hoping I've just done enough, it goes to my opponent's last activations, and he's too cunning for me. This Void Wretch runs up around over here. The Scion leaps the wall, blinks to the Wretch. I think he needed to top deck it, and he made it, and then removes my marker, and simultaneously scores 4 points for Entourage. Oh my god. And it turns out he is just a smidgen, the tiniest smidgen, out of my engagement range. So I can't hold up his forces, and the Vic of Ashes, by the tiniest smidgen, is also just outside of 3 inches of my scheme marker. No! And so with that, we end the game. Outcasts scored 4 points for Symbols of Authority, 3 points for Make Them Suffer, and 3 points for Undercover Entourage. The Resurrectionists scored no points for Artifacts of whatever, Symbols of Authority, no points for Inescapable Trap, and 1 glorious point for Hold Up Their Forces. making this game a 10-1 smashing to the Outcasts. Wow, well that went horribly. But I think it's fair to say that it definitely didn't feel like it was a one-sided game. Clearly it was, but you know, it felt like there was some struggle going on. Regardless, I had amazing fun with this. I really enjoy Molly, and I'm really looking forward to getting a rematch in. So, what do we think of the prototype, strats and schemes? Well, both of us thought Symbols of Authority made the game really interesting. It wasn't as easy to score as we thought it would be, especially for yours truly. The 10 inches apart thing seemed a bit far, but the main issue I had with it is that there's no real incentive that I see not to just put them all three on your back line. I mean, maybe there's ways to work 1 up, 2 back, or 2 up, 1 back, or 3 in a diagonal line, but I think in general, especially in a tournament where you don't have too much time to faff around working out where you're going to put things, 3 at the back is just going to be easiest and a bit boring. So ultimately, we both really like it, we think it's really novel, we think it might need a little bit of tweaking. And for what it's worth, I'll throw in a suggestion. I wonder if each player should have 2 markers that the enemy has to remove that they have to place within their half of the table, and 1 marker that they have to remove that they have to place in their enemy's half of the table. It gives you much more, or would give you much more opportunity to mess with your opponent's placement of the markers, and I think that would be quite cool. As for the schemes, I think my opponent was rather boring man, and took older schemes, which are obviously tried and tested. But I will just use this opportunity to confess my hatred for Make Them Suffer. So point and click for killing masters. Hunting Party was a billion times better. It actually makes you have to think about your crew composition. I sort of get that they're trying to make more certain masters more appealing again, but yeah, that's just my thoughts. I hate this scheme, even when I play killing masters. As for Inescapable Trap and Hold at Their Forces, I really like them. Takes a lot of setup and imagination, and that's just that's just what the game is for me. I mean, you've got to try to clump your opponent up without clumping up too much yourself, so it sort of conflicts or makes more difficult, keeping your synergies whilst scoring points, and the same for killing. It kind of disincentivizes you to just go on a murder spree. Made me really have to think, and I loved it. To be fair, they seem particularly good with Molly, so I might be a bit biased, but really I'd be happy to play them with any master I play. They're just really interesting. But I think this game goes to show that while schemes might be great for your master, but if your opponent is teched or positions well, they can be really quite tricky. Looking at how the game went more broadly, it didn't feel like I was playing badly. Obviously the score tells a different story, but it definitely felt more like a struggle or wrestling match rather than the curb stomping it was. Taking a set list, never mind the schemes, is obviously a risk, and I paid for that. But I think I had options. I didn't consider my opponent's crew well enough though. Most of his models can be quite independent, so they don't need to bunch up, which seems like it would be problematic for Molly at the best of times, but with these schemes it's doubly so, and many of his models have got tricks to get out of engagement. This trapper was such a pain from being, I had to try to account for where it would push out of engagement to be. Vicar of Blood can bury herself, the Void creatures can bury me, Scion berries if I attack it. It's wasn't easy. The Vics go around in a bit of a 2-pair, but it's pretty hard to get something to survive to the end of the turn next to them. And basically I needed to start out activating my opponent quite early, and it just didn't happen. Sad that Bert didn't get to use his crackerjack timing, but I didn't really see an opportunity. I sort of liked my flank attack, drawing out the Vics. They wasted a lot of AP walking around this terrain, but ultimately it was still enough to keep them in the game as they crushed this flank and then swept on into the centre. And looking back on it, the Soaring Dragon berry ability was pretty key. It meant once she'd finished with my Rogue Necro, slightly wounded after healing, I wasn't able to bring my other models like Bert and the Bell to bear on the Vicar Blood and take her out in retribution. I was wondering if I should play more aggressive and kind of put more of my guys up in the centre, really make it a sweet deal that the Vics had to come in on. Take the losses but make more sure that I could get rid of them as well. But again, with that berry trigger, or whatever ability, she can just get out of there before I can do anything and remain a threat. Possibly it would make the Vic of Ashes more vulnerable, and you can go gunning for her, but yeah, a difficult dance just got a whole lot more tricky, I feel. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this, I certainly did, and I will catch you on the next one. Take care.